if you're not hip to it, Kyle Krabs interviewed Kurt Warner, and I think it was a very, very good show. For me, that's the type of coverage I like. I still haven't got to the second part of a podcast I had done where Omar Kelly had said the Inside the NFL, which is really inspirational. It's a foundation of understanding how to cover football. But he said that's only like 5 or 10% of the people that really enjoy or use sports journalism daily. And then mostly it's become kind of like a soap opera type coverage, very surface. Like my grandma used to force me to watch the Bold and the Beautiful or Brave and the Bold. I don't know, Young and the Restless. And I'm like, oh, grandma, come on. But that's kind of a lot of what sports journalism's come to. And I hope it's not 5 to 10% that are really interested in true journalism, sports journalism, and true understanding the game. I don't think it's that low. I hope not. But if you love to understand the game, and whether you like to or not, you should check out Kyle Krabs interviewing Kurt Warner. It will help you understand this very complex game, help you with your evaluations, and offer a lens to look through. Some of the things that were said there I've been saying for a few years, some not. Some stuff really, I think, from his perspective, was very, very interesting. I think Kyle Krabs did a great job of letting him speak. Very enjoyable. Please check it out. And what I want to do here is go over what I pulled from it. And so if you haven't watched it, maybe you can use this to add in the back of your brain when you watch it. Or if you have watched it, maybe it can add some interesting bits to it. I think for the most part, it was phenomenal. I think there was one missed opportunity. And I think Kurt Warner missed that opportunity last year when he did the big Tua podcast. So that's it, guys. It's not going to be too long. But I just want to get into it. Everybody wants the elite quarterback. Okay, Tua is not an elite quarterback. I've been saying that for years. He's got some elite traits, but you usually don't get quarterbacks with elite traits. Now, you might get quarterbacks with elite traits in their legs and the power of their arm, but as you get to the higher skill levels, the higher traits that are more critical, anticipatory throws, accuracy, release, these things, and obviously reading going through your progressions, all these things are critical. And the more of these high-end traits you have, the more successful you can be. As an example, Chad Pennington came here with no arm, and he brought us to the playoffs, and his arm was a noodle. It was terrible, but he had certain traits of charisma and ability to hang tough and deliver the football on time and run a system. But now if you add the rest of it, then you get superstar talent. And so he tried to say that Tua is not an elite quarterback. They're very rare. And, some people will say, we should have drafted Herbert. Well, Herbert's not elite either because what has he really done with the teams he's had? He hasn't done much more than Tua. And as far as, success in the postseason, he had one postseason victory. And so, Burrow is a guy who was able to lift that team up, take him to the postseason, although I'll say that D was unbelievable, but there was a price to be paid with his body getting destroyed. But again, you go back to Marino, who truly was elite, and he never won Bubkiss, and his postseason record wasn't good. Does it mean he's bad? No, he was an elite quarterback, but he was still constrained by team. But Warner said, basically, Tua has elite traits, the release, the anticipatory throws, but that doesn't mean you're going to be successful unless you build stuff around that. And that was his next point. The design of plays to fit the scheme. We understand we've got Hill, we've got Waddle. We were throwing very quickly. We kept lots of guys in to protect. And it was Tua's ability to drop into those pockets. And what he was talking about, too, is the elite trait is, and it was a really, really good, the best point, I think, was understanding extending plays, enhancing a play early or late. Some guys can't process or release quick enough, but they have the athletic skill to extend it later. But the early extension, that is the more critical. Marino, as an example, had that. But if you've watched Marino early in his first few years, before his knees went, he was mobile too. He could extend early and late. And then, later in his career, he had the ability to move up and make some little moves and extend it that way. But the extension early and late, and Tua does have the ability to extend because you can't get that ball into that spot unless you read early. And so he didn't say Tua had great reading skills, but clearly he said he had good reading skills in certain areas, but he wanted to see more as the progressions developed. Now, you ask yourself, okay, so they've got a system that throws quick, throws to spots. And Warner was saying, like, what happens when that breaks down? What happens when you're throwing all this time into these spots? And you've heard me say it here, the limited menu. What do you do after that when it does not work? And so I would say, I wish Kurt Warner, and he kind of mentioned it a little bit, but not in detail. What are the other things you could do to create, and what do you need to create these future opportunities? So when you throw very fast and very early, there's no pressure. But as you extend the clock and go to your next read and go to your next read and wait for this guy to break open, it raises the time to throw and demands better protection. And one of the things that, our scheme is lots of play actions, lots to keep guys in the box and few guys in routes. And when you got secondaries that can get pressure with 4 and drop 7, and you got 2 and 3 guys going in routes, and everybody's essentially double covered, your protection needs to be very, very good. And it makes it more difficult because there's less options. Now, Tua, clearly, there's things he could have done, drop the ball off early, get to the outlet quicker. And that's a reality if you're a Tua fan. But still, it goes back to why the need to what came first, the chicken or egg? Why are we throwing so fast? Is it because Tua can't read? And if Tua can't read, and we're designing this whole thing to help him, who else is being helped? When you throw this fast and you get to the line of scrimmage and you do all these motions, it makes the offense easier to put on the field, and it makes less demands on the OC as well. And then when you throw so fast and you uplift poor protection, it also helps the GM as far as what he has to put on the field for the offensive line. So there's lots of people that are being helped. And is it Tua just can't do anything else? Or what came first, the chicken or egg? I think a lot of people are being helped. So this limited menu, yes, it clearly is helping Tua. It fits his skill set. But we won't know what the kid could do until you get a run game to create confusion, to get guys out of dropping 7 and running light boxes, and you don't allow the quarterback to get deeper into his progressions because the time's just not there. Again, our clean time to throw is 75%. At 2.09 seconds. And our blitz time to throw is 2.08. And all that didn't come because we were letting blitzes in, as some people said. That's not true. So I think that when you go through it, he sees a guy that needs to grow. But he also kept saying the play calling, the scheme. Why is it so limited? Why is it designed this way? And some of the things we talked about, and even Tua talked about, where's the audibles? Where's the ability to get to the line of scrimmage early and then dictate through manipulation? And it seems like now we've upped our skill talent. And so likely we're going to lean heavier into this quick throw. But again, it's pigeonholing you in this thing that if you don't get it out quick, if you got certain sectors that your favorites and they're taken away, what do you do next? And that's going to be the interesting part to see whether Tua, who's now lighter, can stay healthy and he can find things happen. McDaniel can be creative. Can all this talent even just break all these defenses, even if they drop 7 and rush 4? That's what we're waiting to see. But Warner's overall take was this kid can play. Is it enough? That's what we got to see. But he tied in to the scheme and he tied into questions of why the limited menu. But the point that I really wish Kyle Krabs, I was very, very surprised, and I'm very surprised that Warner didn't mention either, is the offensive line and protection. Everyone who's designing an offense or a defense is looking at the blocking and protection first. If you're an offensive coordinator, you're thinking about, on the pass game, protection and how much that protection can last, the time. And then that dictates your scheme, your philosophy, and the play calls. You don't say, hey, you know what? We're doing 7-step drops and it's all high verticals. And you know what? My offensive line can't block past, 2.3 seconds because it's going to take about 2.7 to get all that out. You don't do that. You say, what can my blockers do? How long can they hold up? How much do I need to keep in there? How many guys can I put in route? And what's the time frame that I'm looking for to get all this done based on the protection? And then when you get into the run game, you start by saying, what is my offensive line? Where can they block? The directions, the blocking, how good are my blockers, and where's the directional strength? And both these things are foundational to every play and every player. Dan Marino, post Dwight Stevenson and pre-Dwight Stevenson. Dan Marino, post Dwight Stevenson and pre-Sims and Webb. Mahomes in the Super Bowl that he lost, with both his tackles went down, he lost to Brady. Marino in the Super Bowl where they just dropped like 8 DBs and said, run on us, and we couldn't do it. And I think Montana had like 200 and something yards on the ground. It all comes down to this, a diverse menu, but the diverse menu and the options comes out of your blocking and your protection and how much and how little you need to use. And that's always got to be the foundational principle when you evaluate anybody. So I was very surprised that they did not get into that. Warner didn't get into it in the, really good, like 90% good evaluation Tua last year. And then, and he's the guy who really kind of highlighted where's these audibles. And then this one, both these are excellent. And I think the fair thing is this kid has talent. The question is, can he stay healthy? And how high can he go if he gets the right pieces? I still think it's going to be difficult unless we are unbelievable in our skills to break defenses, even if they know what we're doing. If you get a defense that knows what we're doing, they're going to be able to sit on those hot routes, those hot areas we like to go to, and we still can't get the stuff that's on the plan B, plan C, and plan D. It's going to be tough for us. I just don't know why this wasn't a sizable point. It's not to say to absolve Tua or McDaniel or whatever, but I just think that that's a foundational principle, and it was a missed opportunity. But other than that, this thing was phenomenal, guys. If you're old like me, and if you're younger and you don't remember, go check some Inside the NFL clips with Nick Bonaconte and Len Dawson and Dan Marino showing up later. And it was so good, guys. There was a little bit of, the soap opera stuff. There was a little bit of the, emotionalism, but it was so done so well, so professional. I learned so much from those things. I really appreciate Kyle Krabs. Lucky dog. It's not to say that Kyle Krabs is always right about everything. I disagree with some of the stuff he talks about. If he knew about me, which he probably doesn't, he would say the same thing about me. That's just evaluations. But this guy, I think, does it right. And it's a great show, guys. So please support him. I'm sure you do. I'm the little guy. But I'm so grateful for the good cover guys out there, and I always try to push them. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins, Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.